In this video, we're going to talk about the file structure that Pro Tools creates when we create a Pro Tools session. File, create new, some things to be mindful of. This is the dashboard that appears when you create a new session. You name your session. I will call this AWK PT demo. Okay, and I'm going to make sure I'm doing a local session here so that I can save this on my drive. And for now, I'm going to use 24-bit for my bit depth, and I'm going to use 48K now. So this would be similar to if I was going to start a video project, 24-bit 48K. You could also do an audio project at 24-bit 48K, just keeping in mind when you are saving out your final files, the sample rate and bit depth that you would need to deliver for that particular project. My I/O settings, I'm going to pick stereo mix. And then I'm going to check this interleave box so that I'm creating interleave files and not split stereo files where I have a separate left and right file. And then here I've got two buttons. I've got my prompt for location, which will prompt me where I want to save that actual file. And then I also have this location here. So the location is kind of nice because if I click this, I will always have my Pro Tools sessions default to landing in this location where you can change this and set this wherever you want that location to be. So it can be very convenient. For now, I'm going to say prompt for location and save this on my desktop just because of doing the demo. So I'll put this on my desktop. And I will save this as AWK PT demo. So all I've done is just go through this file dialog and save a file. And then we'll see here that I get a Pro Tools session. And the first thing I can do is I can toggle back and forth using this shortcut, Command equals. I can toggle back and forth from the edit window to the mix window. We'll talk more about the edit window and the tools in a future video. But for now, we're just looking at what Pro Tools created when I went through the new session dialog. So what's happening in the background? What other files and folders did Pro Tools create? To quickly get to the folder where this session lives, up here I'm going to right click on this icon, this Pro Tools icon. Right click and I can just drop right into what is called the session folder. This is the folder that Pro Tools created. Notice I'm on the desktop, and here is the PT demo folder. And then this is called the session folder. This is the top level folder in the hierarchy. And then the other subsequent folders live inside the session folder. Notice this .ptx file. Well, that's the Pro Tools session. What is open on the screen here, that's the Pro Tools session. Everything that you do in the session, when you create tracks, when you perform routings, when you load plugins, when you record clips, when you record MIDI clips, all of those clips, okay, notice the term I'm using, clips are stored in the Pro Tools session. Audio files are stored in this audio files folder. So a quick example would be track new. I'll just do a mono audio track. And what I can do is I can take and make a selection in the timeline here. And I can just go up here and do edit, consolidate clip. And what this will create is basically an empty audio file. So again, up here at the top of the session, I'm going to right click and drop into this PT demo folder. And if I look in the audio files folder, there, that audio file has been saved in the audio files folder. This is an important concept that you have to think about because anytime that you create an archive with Pro Tools, you need to make sure that the audio files for the session carry along with that. And we'll get into more detail about that save, copy, and process in another video. Other files and folders inside the session folder, we have the bounced files folder. Anytime you perform a bounce to disk in Pro Tools, this is the default folder where those bounces land. Clip groups. Clip groups is a very unique feature of Pro Tools. You can save groups of clips in one session and then in another session import the clip groups and the subsequent media follows along into the session. Session file backups. As you're working in Pro Tools, Pro Tools has a facility that generates automatic backups of your session. So if you have a problem with the Pro Tools session, Pro Tools crashes, and you reopen your session and you don't have the changes that you're looking for, or the status of the session isn't what you think it's going to be, you can go back into the session file backups folder, find the most recent backup, and then get back up and running as quickly as possible. If you work with video in Pro Tools, this is where the video files get stored. And then this last file is called the wave cache file. And what this does is this creates the waveform overviews for clips that live in your session. So once you start to record audio or import audio into your Pro Tools session, you'll see the waveforms in the clips. And this wave cache file creates the waveform overviews for the clips in the session. So that's an overview of the file hierarchy that Pro Tools creates. Remember, we have a top-level session folder, the one that's highlighted orange here, and then we have the subsequent files and folders inside the session folder. We have the .ptx file, which is what is open on the screen in the background. That's a map of everything that's happening in the session. Clips are stored in the session. The most important piece that is not included in the actual .ptx file is the audio files folder. And the audio files folder always has to live in the same folder where the .ptx session is. Let's move on and let's talk about the Pro Tools interface.